Hey, greetings, folks. Greetings from one and all. Do we have anybody queuing up? Wayne, can we see? Or
Not just yet. We're just on live, so we probably have people coming in momentarily.
okay, alrighty. Well, we'll kick off with a bit of music as always from an undiscovered artist in just a minute. I haven't got my. Well, actually, I could do it now. Have a look on LinkedIn to see what's happening in terms of bodies turning up there. So let's have a look at that at the same time. There we go. Right. Okay. Because we have another busy session.
So we have five people in so far.
Oh, lovely. Okay. All righty. Who have we got, Wayne? Do you want to say hello to them?
Yeah, if you're joining us live on LinkedIn today, please do let us know where you're from. And always, if you have any hellos or shout outs, we'd love to hear from where you are in the world today. So do let us know in the chat. Looking forward to a great conversation today, Paul and Reggie.
Yes, indeed. We have got a spectacular session for you. We'll tell you what the agenda is in just a minute. But just by way of kicking off, we'll just do a short intro piece. Snowy Texas. Reggie's in snowy Texas. That's unusual. I'm in Abu Dhabi. And it's beautiful. It's like 70 degrees. It's really the nicest time of the year. And Wayne is in. Beautiful. Tell us where you are, Wayne.
Sunny, warm point. Thankfully, no snow here, guys. We have avoided the snow. Certain parts of Republic of Ireland and indeed further north than me weren't just so lucky. But we had a little bit of ice, a light flutter of snow in the mountains, but nothing actually on the ground here, which is fantastic.
It's poetic, isn't it? A light flutter of snow. I love it. So listen, welcome to one and all the Suspect Plans Chat Club. I'm PR Smith. Paul Smith, call me Paul if you like. We got our friends from Cairo, Ahmed, good man, very welcome. So we've got myself from Abu Dhabi today. We've got Reggie Johnson from Fort Worth, Texas. And we've got Wayne Denner from beautiful Northern Ireland, Warren Point. And we've got a busy schedule for you. Just before we give you the agenda, let's kick in with the undiscovered artists from my street. I've mentioned a couple of times. A couple of people have come back to me and said they really like this young lady's voice. She has a beautiful voice. So this is Parts and Spares, and a local band. And it is an unusual piece of music, as I say. Scream When You Cry. So here it is. Hope you like it. There we go.
She's going through her life. It's hard to say she's crazy. She's wasted all her time. But the walls are getting closer. The space up in the light. She can hear the traffic hang around where the lovers came round earlier tonight. But you scream and cry.
Okay, we'll play the full track at the end of the session. That is Parts and Spares, a lovely local band doing their thing. They got a BBC Introductions gig, which they performed and were brilliant at. And they're on Spotify. And we'll put the link to it on prsmith.org/blog. That will go up. The notes and the links to everything we talk about will go up tomorrow. Usually it's the same day, but I've got a dash somewhere after this. So we get on, just have a look at the agenda we've got for today, which is, first we're going to talk about AI dumbed down. This is quite worrying stuff, losing the skill of writing and thinking, courtesy of AI. And then we'll talk about agentic AI, helping students take and pass classes. You can see the dangers of this stuff. Then we're going to talk about AI replicating you in 2 hours. Is this possible? And why are we doing this? Then onto a piece about AI agents targeted in ad campaigns. So advertising campaigns aimed at AI agents, not humans. Work that one out. Then we move on to what I'm calling Meta's self-destruction. And that's their self-destruct bot that they're introducing, or the bots that they're introducing, and multiplied by flooding the platform with AI bots. So we'll cover all this stuff. But then we're going to do something that's going to be a recurring theme. And that's the piece about safety by design. And this is lacking in so many industry sectors. So we're bringing in Wayne, he's an expert on this particular field. So this will be a recurring theme, safety by design. And then we'll demonstrate the importance of this by talking about Mark Zuckerberg. What is he and Meta and Facebook up to by abandoning safety fact checkers? So, and then two heavy pieces, one from Professor Geoffrey Hinton, the grandfather of AI, and Bernard Marr, a very popular German writer, talking about AI self-destruction of humanity. It is a risk, and there are some numbers we need to cover. We'll finish on a positive piece, which is the rise of CSE, the Creative Solutions Experts. So we'll end on a positive note, as we try to, as always.
Hey, Paul.
So that's our yes, Reggie.
Before we get into all the hard stuff, I did want to ask you. You mentioned BBC. Tell us how your Great Sportsmanship event went to end the year.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, yes, indeed. Yes, yes. I recorded with BBC Radio London the top 10 sportsmanship moments from 2024, and it went out on New Year's Eve. And the top 10. It's really great because I'm glad you asked this, because each one is a 1 minute story. And so now we've done it for 10 years. So now there are on greatsportsmanship.org, and we put the link there on the notes, greatsportsmanship.org. There are now 10 years of 10-minute stories. So there's 100 1-minute stories about amazing moments of sportsmanship, all there on greatsportsmanship.org. So really pleased about that. And it went very well. Thank you, Reggie, for asking. It's very kind of you.
Did you know you and I have something? Did you know you and I have something in common with sports that you might not have expected? You root in rugby. Your favorite team is the Irish, right?
Yes, correct.
Well, in American football, my favorite team is the Notre Dame Irish. That's their nickname as the university. And they won a huge game last night, the national semifinal. So I thought I'd throw that out. I didn't know if you know, but when you root for rugby, you and I'm rooting for football, we're both rooting for the Irish.
Lovely. Good man yourself. Well, we have a story about Notre Dame University in the top 100, actually, and in the book that I wrote some time ago. So that's great to know. I didn't know that, Reggie. That's good to know. Right.
Actually, before we go any further, let me keep on that theme, because there has been a young person from 10 minutes from where I live has just signed a 2-year contract with the New Orleans Saints. And he's only 18 years of age, a guy called Charlie Smith. So, and he was a former GAA player here in Northern Ireland for a couple of the local clubs, and he got picked up by the New Orleans Saints, and he's now one of their kickers and signed his 2-year contract. So that's great news from this part of the world.
Terrific.
Yeah, great news. We watch out for him. And if we hear of anything, let us know as the weeks go by. That's great news. Okay, let's get cracking. Reggie, AI Dumbed Down. What's all this about?
Well, someone posted a quote from Charles Bukowski, the German-American writer, about writing, what it is. And this was interesting in looking at the perspective of what AI is doing to our writing skills. So this is Charles Bukowski, a German-American writer. He said, writing is only the result of what we have become day by day over the years. It's a fingerprint of the self, and that's it. And he goes on to say, there's nothing more magic and beautiful than lines forming across paper. It's all there is. It's all there ever was. No reward is greater than the doing. What comes afterward is more than secondary. And this woman, Dagmar Monette, posted on LinkedIn that chatbots' output are the mixed results of what others became day by day over the years. And so these outputs will never be yours. They're combinations of the experiences, the troubles, the aha moments, growth, lives, deceptions, and rewards of others, which kind of brings up the question. She mentions they're taken without consent. So it's not just a matter of taking the writings of others. We're actually taking the process of becoming from other people, which was an interesting, almost reminiscent of Soylent Green. But the question is then, is she points out that this also puts the focus on the product and not the journey. And the emphasis from the quote from Charles Bukowski is that the focus should be on the journey, the writing, not the written. And with AI products, our focus could be easily shown to the product and not the process of becoming. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that metaphor?
Well, A.J. Taylor once said, I write books to find out what I'm thinking. Because the thinking process is being shortened with shorter attention spans, concentration spans, all that sort of thing, multiplied by AI's worrying. So I'm not a fan of this at all. We hope that we'll bring Nadia in at some stage in the weeks to come, talking about education and AI. But that's a worrying issue. So can they help them pass classes as well, and get past exams and do exams and so on?
Well, we talked about how this is the age of agentic AI. That's become the new transition is AI agents that can do more than just like respond directly to your outputs, but can be kind of like personal assistants. So there's evidently what Christopher Rice writes on LinkedIn is that the latest moral panic in higher ed is the possibility of students in massive numbers using AI agents to take and pass asynchronous online college courses and eventually making degrees meaningless. I mean, if anyone can hire an AI or get an AI agent to take an online asynchronous class for them, do the test, to put the input into the computer and do all that. The passing the course means nothing because you just have the AI do it. But Christopher Rice, a great thinker on AI in his own, points out that the assumptions of the inevitability and the ease and the cost of generative AI constantly getting more and more accessible do a lot of the fueling of this panic, and it's not necessarily going to be so practical. And so I guess it kind of confounds what's possible with what's plausible. And so he
Mm.
suggests that maybe it's a little bit premature to think that this will be so widespread as to destroy the asynchronous class. Others have said, well, it's not a matter of everybody having access to the resources and the abilities. If a few do, they'll be able to provide it as a service for the others. So there's a lot of unknowns there, but at least
Yeah.
right now, it seems unlikely that it could become extremely widespread. But somebody may come up with a service that could provide it, and then we'd need to shift away from the asynchronous classes. Have any insight into that?
I think it's inevitable that's going to happen, and how it's going to be policed, I just don't know. That's a worry. That really is a worry. So is that a comment that's just come in? You should never write myself. You can help you with. Yeah, I agree. That's great. Thanks for sharing that. They will learn what good. Yeah. So it is a worry, and I think we've got to be vigilant. And I think whatever technology comes out to identify and police this stuff and stop it, because you're stopping people from thinking, and the art of learning and all of that is it's like temporary knowledge coming in and out momentarily to pass an exam is dreadful. It's not even temporary, in my opinion. So that's a worry. But let's move on to this recent headline about AI replicating you in 2 hours. What is this about, Wayne?
Yeah, this is really interesting. And I wrote a blog on this in the past couple of weeks in relation to a report that's come from researchers from Google and Stanford that your personality, guys, your own personality can be replicated with 85% accuracy. Now, that is just astonishing after a 2-hour interview with an AI model. Now, these AI replicas, there was a survey done of 1,052 people were created after recent participants completed personality tests. So it was really focusing on the personality of people, social surveys, and also logic games. And then they did the same 2 weeks after that. So they initially took it 2 weeks prior, and then 2 weeks later, they redone it again. And the AI models then completed the tests, matching the humans by 85% accuracy.
Well, the personality, is it? Could it?
Their personality, which is up to 85% accuracy. Now, not 100% just yet, but that's very, very close.
Yeah. So does that mean after 2 hours of being quizzed by an AI system, it could be a bot sitting in front of you, that they could then answer in the way your personality would answer a discussion?
That's correct. That's correct. So what they did was they brought 1,052 people together. These participants were human beings, and they completed these personality tests and then social surveys and logic games. They did the same 2 weeks later, and then the AI models completed them tests, matching them by 85% accuracy. I mean, it's astonishing.
So what's the purpose of it?
Well, the purpose is to try and make the AI more human in terms of how it responds.
Okay, so if you wanted, sorry, Wayne. If you wanted to train a bot to be Wayne Denner, is that the purpose? So it could answer on your behalf.
That's correct. And if we look at somebody like me from a content marketing perspective in relation to some of the chat GPTs or the GPTs that I've been creating in relation to the content that I've been producing over the past number of years, I am trying to train the GPT then to write more like me as well. So to help me in that process, to be able to structure the flow so that it sounds more like Wayne Denner as opposed to a piece of AI that's created the content. So this is quite a huge development and something that we're actually going to have to keep an eye on in relation to how this gets rolled out into other technologies.
Yeah,
I do.
Paul,
Yeah.
were you the one that shared the video of the social robot that they had at a conference?
Yeah.
You know, because it makes me think of that. Is somebody going to want to record the personality of their spouse so that
Yeah.
if a loved one should pass away, they could load their personality onto a robot one day? I mean, it brings up questions like that, you know?
Yeah.
And then what
It does.
about NIL, you know, image and
Yes.
licensing?
So it will be down to, I mean, then it will come down to perhaps people who are about to die may want to be recorded and have their spirit or presence continued in a bot of some description, whether it's a 3D real looking one or something.
The thing about that is that process is not actually that new, because there has been some basic bots that were created. I remember a couple of years ago reading about some of these bots that would allow you to tweet beyond the grave. So
Yes.
you could set it up using very basic Python,
Yes.
and you could run the script. And basically what the script would do would be to continue to post to social media or
Yeah.
post to Twitter, for example, when
Yes.
you're no longer here.
Indeed.
Oh, but I mean, load onto an actual robot, an actual humanoid robot that they were showing. Like,
Yeah.
that would be an interesting change if
Well,
suddenly people were.
Well, that's the difference, Wayne. I'm with you on that. We've actually covered it, written posts about it, and I think I've included in my Substack 2025 edition, which is about to come out, where they've trained. It's quite emotional stuff actually, where they've trained bots on access just to their Facebook data before the person died. They gave access to the Facebook or to diaries and other stuff, and from that they gather the data, and they can have a bot can have a conversation with you as if they're still alive, and it's quite moving. Project July is just a really frightening one, a romantic and frightening one. That's on prsmith.org/blog. Post extensively written about 2 years ago, I think that was. Yeah, so there is all that, but prior to that, I do recall once. The idea of recording people, interviewing them, and putting them onto, at the time it was CDs, which are being sent in capsules into space, with other artifacts from humanity, so that if somebody did find it in 1,000 years' time, they could start to, like an archaeological sort of collection of stuff to help explain what humans were about. And so there were people investing in that. There were other people investing in taking out being frozen upon their death, and somebody waking them up. We'll see with the same data. Who knows? We'll see. But that's an interesting one. That it takes just 2 hours. It used to be. In the last but one election, Trump's first election, is that 2016, Cambridge Analytica scandal, that with 300 access to 300 of what you like and don't like on Facebook gave you enough data to analyze your personality, to understand the issues and conscious issues that you have, conscious and unconscious issues, right through from politics to religion to sex and so on, that you mightn't even be consciously aware of. It knew you better than your wife or your spouse, and hence the targeted advertising that was used by identifying psychological profiles from that data, 300 bits of data, if you like, was enough to swing votes when Trump won his first election. Again, I've written that, and sourced that, and factually is accurate. So we have had tracking data in all shapes and forms, and this is a relatively new one now, Wayne, that you brought to us. So thanks for that. Moving on, Reggie, you talked about AI agents targeting ads being targeted at agents, not humans. Is this real?
Yeah, so Perplexity AI's founder, Aravind Srivanas, this is from an article in PPC Land by Louis Riho. There's this interview with Aravind Srivanas, and he outlined a radical transformation for digital advertising where agents are the target of ads instead of humans. Now, this is in a world where everybody has their own agent as a personal assistant. And the idea is, say you're running out of petrol, you're running out of gasoline in your car, and you want to find the closest gas station with inexpensive gas. Gas companies or the gas stations advertise, like maybe on Google AdWords. They advertise when you search for a query. In this case, they're advertising to your AI agent, and it takes the information it has and makes a decision for you as to where to go. Maybe it knows you also like slushies, and they put value ads in this one place. The 7-Eleven has slushies, so it tells you, changes your directions, and says, go here, get yourself a slushie, and fills up with gas, and it happens to be one of the cheapest in town. It's just an interesting shift to think that an AI agent would be where the ads would be focused, and then it would make the decision for you. And it does bring up questions about, we already know that ads try to exploit human vulnerabilities of biases and heuristics and fears and all of this in advertising, right? So what about ad fraud for, would this be black box advertising? Can it be regulated on, like, honestly, like we have honesty in advertising? And it also worries me about prompt injections. Are there ways to manipulate AI agents? And I know we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but it's really a fascinating thought to think about, the idea of AI agents being the target of ads. And I don't know if the idea is it's supposed to save people from having to watch ads, or just that we're outsourcing that side of it. But I feel like you
Yeah.
could open yourself up to a lot of snake oil.
Yeah, almost inevitable, I would think. In fact, it's a little bit like what we talked about a few weeks ago, Reggie, when we are talking about, instead of SEO, SEAI. So how do you get yourself optimized so that so that the bots scraping the data to deliver to other bots to deliver back an answer to a question. And we figured out that the way to do it was old-fashioned. You find out where those sources are, where the conversations are, and you go knock on the door in the old PR, public relations approach, and you give them all the news releases and the white papers and whatever else you can, so that you target them physically. So here is extension of that. How do you influence those bots or those AI? How do you influence them? Well, I guess advertising to them, or wherever they are, or what channels they scoop from. It'll be similar to the PR thing. It's just another tool. There are 10 communication tools, in my opinion. Advertising is one, PR is another, and they'll be thrown at AI agents to fill their data with, and get priority in their recommendations and so on. So that's an interesting one, very interesting one, in fact. Let's move on to the big news during the week. Now, this is the one that worried everybody. I'm sure you've seen it, because all over BBC and all over the world, Mark Zuckerberg is at it again with Meta and Facebook. And he's been talking about what Facebook want to do. They want to flood. I kind of feel that he's almost paranoid that he's not keeping up with the cutting edge of AI. So what's he going to do? How's he going to catch up? How's he going to keep his name in the papers? And so here's his latest announcement, that Meta says it will be aiming to have Facebook filled with AI generated characters. So fake characters, if you like, or to be polite, AI generated characters. Why? To drive up engagement. So if all these lookalike, I mean, deep fakes and all the stuff that the Russians were throwing around before various elections and so on and so forth, these things didn't exist, but they got followings and they got huge engagement, and they could engage all night long. And so 24/7, 365, no holidays, no insurance, no this, no that. So he wants to drive up engagement by having bots responding, and people responding to very personalized stuff from these bots or these AI generated characters. Now, it could be done manually, it could be done automatically, more likely the latter, as part of this broader rollout of AI products. Now, this is the Financial Times in the UK reporting this. And so it's AI characters created by users through Meta's AI Studio. And so you can interact with them almost like you would with a real human being on a website. So they'll have bios and profile pictures and all the usual stuff. So what does this mean for social networks? Now, in my opinion, my conclusion of this is, if he swamps the social media with these fake characters, it devalues social media, I think, and therefore it could be self-destructing. I don't know. Is that a fair summary?
I agree. I think it's a horrendous example of not listening to what your audience wants. And Meta has a little bit of a history of this, of saying, we know what is best for you. They've ignored people who have said, keep Instagram in favor of like promoting more AI content rather than family and friends and people you actually choose to follow, brands you follow. But, I don't know if they missed the part where the customers said, the users and the advertisers said that for engagement, they wanted it to be human engagement. And they somehow think that just driving up engagement altogether altogether is a positive thing, even if people know it's mostly bots. But it's fascinating to me, and it does make me also worry because we know there are black market botnets that people use to influence publicity campaigns and public opinion. And it also makes me wonder a little cynically, and maybe this is too cynical. Tell me if it's too dark. Is Meta wanting in on that, where they control the huge amount of bots, and the highest bidder is going to be able to have their huge amount of bots influence people? I don't know.
Yeah.
The irony of this is, if we can cast our mind back to the days of, oh, it was very bad to buy followers and you shouldn't be buying followers.
Yeah.
But now
Yeah.
if we have automated bots where you can just I mean, it's crazy.
It is. And it's another self-destruct button. I feel it could be destroying his own product that he's built up. So that's one that and Zuckerberg's got it wrong with Instagram before. Remember, he tried to reposition it, to compete with TikTok, and was it 300,000 people signed a petition to say, we'll walk away from you if you do that. So Zuckerberg does lash out and just do stuff, which we'll be talking about in just a minute. But to keep the pace going here, safety by design. Wayne, what does safety by design mean?
Yeah, just before I get into that, can I say hello to everybody in the comments, guys? There's some fantastic engagement taking place. Hello to David, hello to Gary, hello to Ahmed, hello to everybody really who's sharing links and actually feeding into the conversation that we're having. A great link there from David McDonald, where AI influencers are making money on Instagram, and maybe that's something to revisit in a couple of weeks. But yes, on safety by design, as you guys know, this is a big topic in my world, where whenever new technology is being developed, or let's say new features are being incorporated into an existing app or an existing platform, it's really important that we think about the end user and the safety of the end user. Now, safety by design is effectively a forward-thinking approach to creating technology and platforms. So we're thinking about the safety at the core of everything we do. It emphasizes embedding safety and security as well as user well-being, which we know often goes overlooked until something goes wrong. Think of it as the process of designing a car with airbags and seatbelts from day one, and not an afterthought when an accident happens. So that's a really, really easy way to explain safety by design. Now, there are lots of pros when it comes to safety by design. You can prevent some of the harms that we're seeing before they actually happen. And let's not forget, guys, that we have a track record here in developing technology, producing apps, in terms of what has come before, what we already see ourselves now starting to experience. So it's about taking some of that learning of things that have happened before and making sure that we rectify those processes in the new technology that we roll out. This, of course, builds trust with users, which is really important because people want to feel safe when they're using these platforms. They don't want to experience the harms that they're seeing online. But it also helps keep things in line with regulatory compliance, such as GDPR and other design principles, which are important from a safety and design standpoint. Now, the tech companies are obviously going to argue here today, but this comes with a lot of expense and it delays us rolling out the project. So let's just roll it out and sort of see what happens. So there is increased development costs, complexity as well in relation to it. And then there's also that potential overreach, which some people have concerns about. If poorly executed, unintentional skills can stifle innovation, which we talk about a lot on this stream as well. So safety by design does help combat evolving threats, which are something which is happening all the time in the world that we're now find ourselves in.
So this applies to social media companies and their products, which seem not to have considered safety by design, but also AI companies and their products, which seem to be abandoning. In fact, Zuckerberg, just before we finish now, Zuckerberg, we'll cover the other stuff next week, but Zuckerberg this week has officially said Facebook are abandoning trust and safety effectively. Meta is abandoning the use of independent fact checkers on Facebook and Instagram, replacing them with X-style community notes where people can make comments to each other. So he's cancelled all those jobs. And it's shocking. Like, it's the antithesis of safety. He's chucking it out the window. So Trump and his Republican allies have criticized Meta for its fact-checking policy before. They've said, it's too rigid, and they say it's right-wing because they're doing all these checks. So when they asked Trump this week, Zuckerberg was directly responding to threats that Trump had made to him in the past about fact-checking, And Trump's response was probably Zuckerberg's response to do this was because of Trump's criticism. So really scary, but it means, and Zuckerberg's own word, he says, it means we're going to catch less bad stuff. And he's got the audacity to go on video and make this announcement saying that that's good for us. You know, less bad stuff's going to be picked up. So it's at odds, completely at odds with the recent regulation, both in UK and Europe. So really, it's political. You know, Meta announced that they're undoing mission creep of rules and policies. It's very political stuff. But the bottom line is that you know, it's going to make Meta more unsafe. Now, we will feature this again and again in the weeks to come, because this is the antithesis. Now, I would say amidst all this, California, if there's anybody out there that hears this, thank you, California. We talked about this last week, the new law in California, SB 976, which is forcing Meta and X from offering addictive feeds, and that children at a certain age can only get chronological stuff from their mates and not from an algorithm that's trying to addict them to the content. Surprisingly, or not surprisingly, perhaps, Zuckerberg announces that he's shutting down, I don't know the whole operation in California, but a significant bit, and moving to Texas, which doesn't adhere to, obviously, the Californian law of SB 976. So we're going to have to stop because we've just gone over time. We will cover the other items. We will be talking about this again because I think it's a recurring theme. Wayne, safety by design is important, and it's being abandoned, and it's been thrown in our face this week. It's shocking, and we must not succumb to the oligarchs telling us how to live our lives. I think we have to be knowledgeable, share these thoughts with each other, make sure people know what's going on, and stand up and sign petitions and demand protection, particularly of children online in the online world.
Absolutely.
Okay, we've gone.
Just before you go, Paul, I know I'm pushing you here. What about the pre-launch of the book? Can we let people know about that really quickly? We've got a QR code on screen.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Yeah, so the Substack 2025, it's taken 3 years, actually. It was each year I normally did an update to the Substack guide to writing your perfect digital marketing plan. And it took 3 years. Really pleased with it. It's got some great stuff in it. I will tell you more about it in the weeks to come. And thank you for putting that little barcode. If you scan that in, you'll see we haven't even launched it yet. We'll launch it in a couple of weeks' time. But you can pick up pre-launch copies from Amazon there. So thanks for that, Wayne. It's very kind of you. I will post tomorrow morning. It'll be tomorrow morning. The topics we've covered, the links to them, and we do welcome any other comments that you send in to us. It means a lot to us. We're very grateful for that. And we're going to finish with a piece of music. We'll see you the same time, same channel next week. So we're here. We're learning our way into the system. It's getting better and better each week. Thank you very much, Wayne Denner, Reggie Johnson. Thank you so much. PR Smith here saying thanks to everybody. Have a great weekend. Here's Parts and Spares, which is this lovely little tune. We'll play it out for the next few minutes, and then we will cut the feed. Cheers, everybody. Have a great weekend.
There's a crowd gathered outside. They sealed off the building. Now they're looking for.
Okay, we'll put a link to that track so you can hear the full thing yourself. I wish you all a great weekend. Wayne, I'll leave you.